Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Thursday class, Upanishad class. And these days we are trying to understand this Taittiriya Upanishad. It is a very beautiful Upanishad, but deep Upanishad. So we got to pay a lot of attention to really get the significance of what this great Rishi is telling us. So let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhu Bhuvaswaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Yo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Satgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityurma Amritam Gamya. Om Sehna Bhavatu, Sehna Bhunaktu, Seviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti 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 Om. Let's do the Shanti mantra pertaining to this Upanishad also. Om Shannoh Mitraha Sham Varunaha Shannoh Bhavatu Varyama Sham Naha Indro Brihaspati Sham No Vishnu Urukrama Namo Brahmane Namate Vayo Tvam Eva Pratyaksham Brahm Asi Tvam Eva Pratyaksham Brahm Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tatmam Avatu Tatvaktaram Avatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram. Om Shanti 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 Om. Let's start with where we left off last time. In this section, this is the fourth verse. Bhu iti vai richa, bhuva iti samani, suva iti yagunkshansi, maha iti brahm. Brahmana vav sarve veda mahiyante. So in this section, he is trying to give us the upasanas on these three or four, I should say, vahitris. Bhu, bhava, suva, and maha. So bhu iti, what is known as bhu, ve means verily, richa. Richa is the Rigved. Bhuv iti, what is known as bhuva. Samani, the hymns of the Samved. So now he's taking our attention towards the Vedic literature. Suva iti, what is known as Suva. Yangungshi, the Yajurved. Maha iti, what is known as Maha, Brahma. Brahmanaha, by Brahma. Vav, indeed, sarve, all, Vedaha, mahiyante, thrive. So this Rishi is telling his students that Bhu is the Rigved, Bhuva is the Samved. So this is for the sake of Upasana. Remember that. Okay. Suva is the Yajurved, Maha is the Brahma, as represented by the syllable Om. It is by the Brahm indeed that the Vedas thrive. Okay, Brahm indeed. That's why this Om is in the front of every mantra. Om Bhurбhuvasva. Right? Even when we say Shanti mantra, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So over here, he is giving us another set of superimpositions. Clearly, he is indicating that we need to, through the Upasana, try to reach towards Brahma. Maha is the supreme, indicated by symbol Om. So in all the mantras of all the Vedas, directly or indirectly, they point out the one supreme goal. Okay? And that supreme goal is Brahma. That is the theme, that we have come from Brahma, we got to merge with Brahma. So no matter which upasana we do, which form we worship, Brahm and Brahm alone. Now he's bringing our attention more inward. Okay, see, from the Antariksha, the Devatas, to the Vedas, now he's bringing it towards our Pranamaya Kosh. Bhu iti Vyapranaha, Bhuva iti Apanaha, Suva iti Vyana, Maha iti Annam, Anen Vav, Sarve Pranaha Mahiyante. Bhu iti, what is known as Bhu, Vya means verily, Pran, that vital energy. Bhuva iti, what is known as Bhuva, Apanaha. According to the function, these names have been given to the Pran. Okay, Apan. Suva iti, what is known as Suva, Vyanaha. Maha iti, what is known as Maha, Annam, the food. Anen, by food. Vav means indeed, Sarve, all, Prana, Mahiyante, thrive. So Bhuva is Pran. Bhu is Pran, Bhuva is Apan. Suva is Vyan. Maha is food. Indeed, it is by food that the Prana thrive. So again, remember, the Pran doesn't mean the air. Pran means the vital energy, which is carried through the air. That is the Pran. And according to the different functioning of the Pran, these names have been given. In fact, there are five of them. In this verse, he mentions only three, five different. See, Apan is that energy which helps us throw out the matter. Okay. Whether it's the feces or the urine or the semen, whatever it is, when we throw it out, that is through the Apan. And Saman is our digestive vitality. Saman. And Vyan is the circulatory force. Okay. Vyan in the entire body. Udan is the power. At the time of the death, the mind and the intellect of the individual are able to reject this present body. Okay, through Udan. And Pran energy is expressed through the organs of our knowledge also, and our heart also, our chest also. That is a Pran itself. So of these five different prans, which is called Panch Prana, three are taken here. So he says you can superimpose Bhuva, Bhu, Bhuva, and Swa on these prans. So the purpose of this section is a superimposition, so that we can do the Upasana. And why the food? Maha is food, because without food, without Anna, these prans cannot even function, because this body cannot function. Prans are very closely attached to the physical body, the Annamaya Kosha. So that's why he's saying that food is the source of all the energies in us. That's why they say the kind of a food we eat determines what kind of a mind we are going to have. Okay, got to be very careful. Now in the next or the last mantra of this section, he's just summarizing it. He says, Tave etaha chatasraha chaturtha chatasraha vyahrityaha taya ved sa ved brahma sarve asme devaha balim avhantihi. Ta means those. Ve means verily. Etaha, these. Chatasraha, four. Chaturtha, fourfold. And again, he's mentioning Chatasraha, four. Vyahitriya, Vyahitris. So these Bhu, Bhuva, Swa, Maha, those are called Vyahitris. Ta means them, Ya means who, Ved knows. Avhanti, carry. So these above mentioned four are themselves fourfold. And the four Vehitris are each four in number. He who knows these knows Brahma. Knows means experiences it. Okay, theoretically we know it too, we can memorize it. But can we really experience it, or have we experienced it yet? All the Devatas carry offerings unto them. And what are the Devatas? Devatas are five elemental forces. And Devatas are our sense organs. Devata is our mind also. These are all Devatas. So they carry offerings to these. So again, remember, Vahitris are Bhu, Bhuva, Swa, and Maha. These are four. And in the first verse, he said world, sky, next world, and sun. These four. You can go back to that verse. So we are supposed to meditate on this. If we cannot meditate on this macrocosm, he says, closer to you, then closer to you, then closer to you. So wherever you can do the upasana. So the first verse was world was Bhu, sky was Bhuva, next world was Swa, and sun was Maha, if you remember. Then the verse after that was Bhu was fire, Bhuva was air, Swa was sun, and Maha was moon. Then in the next verse was, which we just did today, Rig Ved Bhu, Sam is Bhuva, Yajur is Swa, and Om is Maha. Now in the last verse which we did, Pran Bhu, Apan Bhuva, Vyan Swa, and food Maha. You don't have to get confused with all this terminology. Just choose one of them and do the meditation on those. If you like, if it works for you. So what he's doing is explaining this Vyahatris, Bhu Bhuva Swa Maha, for us four different ways. So there are 16 items altogether, which really, if you look at it scientifically also, they constitute the whole universe, the total universe, these 16 items, both manifest as well as unmanifest. The gross as well as the subtle, matter form as well as the energy potentialities also. So this totality is represented by the term Hiranyagarbha. In the Vedic literature, this Hiranyagarbha term comes often enough. So we are told here that Upasak who's able to meditate upon the implications of these four groups of four each becomes identified the totality. And in his maturity, he will certainly come to experience all the joys of the world. All devas carry offerings unto him. And devas, remember, they also mean the organs of perception. Organs of perception can convey the impulses from the external world to the mind and intellect. That's how we live a more peaceful, radiant, divine life. So any upasak who has become fully identified with the total mind and intellect, Hiranyagarbha, total, like a cosmic mind and intellect, naturally comes to experience all the joys of all individuals. See, how do we experience the joy of others? How do we experience the joy of our loved ones? When our children or our siblings or our parents or our friends, when they are happy, we feel their happiness. When the entire creation, we feel oneness, then we'll feel their joy too. Okay, so this Hiranyagarbha word is used over here. So everybody's experience becomes our experience. So through the sense organs, we feel happiness. Okay, that's what it means. So now the next section starts. So remember that each section got its purpose. So do not get confused because there are so many different upasanas this Rishi is giving us. And we don't have to do all the upasanas. But it's good to know though. So that's why for the knowledge sake also we study the Upanishads. But goal is the same. Whether we use the Antariksha or whether we use the Pran or whether we use the Vedas, goal is the same. Go towards Brahma. Verse number 1 in this section number 6. Sa ya eshaha antaha hridayakashaha tasmin ayam purusha manomeya amritaha hiranmeyaha antarena taluke ya esha stan iv avlambate sa indra yonihi yatra asau ke shant vivartate vyopohe shirsh kapale. And the next verse also goes with this, but let me just tell you the literal meaning of this verse. Sa means that ya eshaha, which is this, anta, within, hriday, the heart, akasha, space. Tasmin, in it, ayam, this, purushaha, manomaya. Manomaya is the mental sheath. Amritaha, imperishable. Hiranmaya, effulgent. Antaren, between, like inside. Antaren. Taluke, the palates. Talu. Ya eshaha, that which, stan. Stan is the nipple. Iv means like. Avlambate, hangs down. Sa means that. Indra Yoni, the birthplace of Indra. Yatra means where, asau, that, ke shantaha, root of here. Vivartate is made to part. Vyopohe, opening, shirsh kapale, two sides of the skull. Here in this space, within the heart, resides the intelligence. Imperishable, effulgent Purush or entity. Between the palates, that which hangs nipple-like, that is the birthplace of Indra, where the root of hair is made to part, opening the skull of the center. Lot of analogies over here. Let's look at it together with the second verse also. Bhu iti agnyo paritishthatihi, bhuva iti vayu, suva iti aditya, maha iti brahmani, apnoti swarajyam, apnoti manasapatim, vakpati, chakshushpati, shrotrapati, vigyanpati, etat tatah bhavati, akash shariram brahma, satyatam pranaha ramam man anandam, shanti samriddham Amritam iti prachin yogyam upasasva. Bhu iti, with the word bhu, agnya, in the fire, paritishthati, stands. Bhuva iti, with the word bhuva, vayu, in air. Suva iti, with the word suva, aditya, the sun. Maha iti, with the word maha, brahmani, in Brahma. Apnoti, obtains, swarajyam, self-effulgence. Apnoti, obtains, manasaha patim, lordship over the mind. Vakpati, lord of speech. Chakshushapati, the lord of eyes. Shrotrapati, the Lord of ears. Vigyanpati, the Lord of knowledge. Etat means this, Tataha means after that, Bhavati becomes. Akash Shariram, whose body is space, Brahm. Satyatam, whose nature is truth. Pranah Ramam, who sports in the pran, the dynamic life force. Manaha Anandam, whose mind is bliss. Shantihi Samriddham, who is full of peace. Amritam, who is immortal. Iti means thus, Prachin Yogya, the descendant of the ancient yogis. Upasasva, you meditate. See, all these mantras are about meditation. The bottom line is that. With the word Bhu, he stands in fire, in the air, in the shape of Bhuva, as Suva in the sun, in the Brahm as Maha. He obtains self-effulgence. He obtains lordship over minds. He becomes the Lord of speech, Lord of the eyes, Lord of the ears, Lord of the knowledge. Then he becomes this Brahm, whose body is space, whose nature is truth, who sports in dynamic life, Pran, whose mind is bliss, who is full of peace, who is immortal. Thus, O descendant of ancient yoga culture, meditate. So this Rishi is telling his students and to us also, because we are studying this, meditate. Brahm is everywhere. The power to see, power to hear, power to speak, power to walk, power to make decision. Where is it coming from? The energy is coming from God. So in the last section, which we finished today, the meditation was upon the Vihetris, the world, the luminaries, the prana, etc. And here, the object of contemplation is upon the intelligent. And what kind of intelligent? That soul, actually. Okay, that is what that's where he's taking us. So, from the meditation, from the world to the prans, now to the essence of us. So earlier we were told that the meditator, as a result of the upasana, identifies with the total mind. Over here, meditation is directly upon the Brahm itself. But now Brahm with the Sagun Brahma, with the attributes. Because right away we really cannot meditate on the Nirguna Brahma. See, Brahm can be Sagun also, Brahm can be Nirgun also. Sagun means with attributes, with qualities. When we look at the form of God, that is a Sagun Brahma. Nirgun Brahma, that means no form. So Brahma is both. There's no condition on Brahma. So in the previous meditation, the fruit is described as the Devas offered tribute. Here the meditator attains the lordship. This is the fruit. Gets himself established in the one or the other aspect of the total mind. So section 5, the previous section and this section together, they are both for meditation. Remember that. Do not get confused. So this section expresses 4 things. Object of meditation. Number 2, the imaginary path of the departure of the egocentric consciousness from one physical equipment to its own self-decided place. Okay? So whatever, wherever you want cake, because no place where Brahm is not. And the third section is, excuse me, the fruits of constant contemplation on the different ideas which are prescribed earlier. The fruits also. The fourth is the section is rounded up with a passionate call to the descendants of the Sanatan Dharma. That means all of us. Sanatan Dharma. It's not Hindus. It's not certain sect. Sanatan Dharma belongs to all of us. Okay, this is it. Like a eternal knowledge. We all need to do this. So descendants of Sanatan Dharma, Prachina Yogi. So to meditate continuously, grow into this mental attitude that Brahma is everywhere. This kind of intellect. Feel the unity in this seemingly diversity. That's what he's trying to tell us. So let's look at these four sections individually also now. Let me explain it to you a little bit more. First one, I said the object of contemplation. This conscious life principle, which is described in this section, he says, abode in the cave of the heart. What does it mean? Is it this pumping blood heart? It really means the noble sentiments. We need to cultivate those. We can sit down and meditate all day long, but if we don't have the noble sentiments, if we don't have the divine emotions, if we don't have noble thoughts, or if our emotions are not pure, if we don't have a softness in our sentiments, or if we don't have attributes of love, tolerance, mercy, kindness, we cannot say we have a heart. Okay? You can have a physically, you can have a very healthy heart. But if you don't have all this, you don't have a heart of a meditator. So that's why this is very first thing he's telling us to have. Our rishis, our yogis, they were the scientists who showed us how to live a life. They knew the art of living. So they declared that the seat of an evolved intellect is in the heart. So remember that they meant that an intellect functioning from the peaceful and a fully grown love heart. Remember that. It's needed for any kind of a growth. That kind of a heart alone can perceive the unifying cord of life that binds all. And it's not just a binding between the human beings, but binding between the rest of the creation also. When we say that mantra at the end of the puja, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, that Sarva means all. Not just our family, not just our friends, not just our relatives, all. And not just human beings, and not just human beings only on earth. Sarve means all, wherever, whatever form they are, we are praying for them. So truth is experientiable only with an intellect when it is analyzing and observing, viewing and discriminating in that kind of a heart, where there is an aroma of love and a love alone. Then we'll have a greater subtlety of our mind to meditate. See, this is what our rishis told us, and these days, why do we meditate? Most of the people say, I'm going to meditate so that my blood pressure becomes normal. That is just a side effect. Such a minute part of the side effect. We got to keep on enlarging our understanding about this. The second section, I told you, the imaginary path of departure. That's what that is. Departure. How this individualized soul will depart. Because Atma doesn't depart. Because what is Atma? Atma is part of Brahma. Brahma is everywhere. So Atma doesn't depart. What really departs is the egocentric individuality. Okay? Which we have the individuality, which we have really accepted out of ignorance. Agyan. Out of Agyan, we think that Atma is bondaged. Otherwise, can Atma be bondaged? Only our understanding is that Atma is bondaged. Atma is ever free. Even when we make that little diagram of the Panchakosh, we don't understand. We think that Atma is in the center. And then there's a Anandamaya Kosh, and then there's a Vijnanamaya Kosh, and Manomaya Kosh, and Pranamaya Kosh, and Annamaya Kosh. We got to understand that also properly. Atma is not only in the middle, Atma is in all those koshas and outside the koshas too. Our ignorance, our agyan thinks that Atma is in the middle of it only. So the imaginary path of departure. So remember that departing is only the egocentric consciousness, living principle, the essence behind the sense organs, mind, intellect, the essence in whose divine presence, the very matter-made container, the body. You got to understand this whole philosophy a little bit better. So in this mantra, we have a very highly imaginative and serious looking explanation actually in these two mantras of the entire path by which the ego or the mind and the intellect of the individual makes its exit from the physical body. It's almost like in a house we live in, and all of a sudden we have to leave. If there are 5 doors going out, we decide which door I want to exit. There is a subtle nerve. And this is what he's talking about over here. Subtle nerve which runs up to the crown of the head along the uvula. See what he said, that nipple like that hanging down there in our mouth? Uvula. There is a nadi which is directly connected with that. Vertical nadi. And what is that nadi? You all know the name of it. Sushushmana. That is a vertical nadi. Starting from the Mooladhara chakra all the way towards the crown. So this yogi is bringing our attention towards the Sushumna Nadi. That's where the prana flows. And when we leave from there, we will attain oneness with prana. We can escape from this physical structure, from this ground. And the fruit of the constant contemplation, the third idea which he is giving us, it's almost like a modern psychologist say the same thing. As you think, so you become. If you are thinking you're weak, you're weak, you're weak, you become weak. Mind has a great effect on our body. We are all at any moment the product of our own thoughts. If you keep on thinking about monkey, 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 you'll start jumping like a monkey. They say that. Okay? Think like a yogi, yogi, yogi. You will have a yogi's mind. The criminal is a person who entertains constantly criminal thoughts. And who's a saint? Whose thoughts are saintly. Bodies are the same. They say that Ravan was extremely handsome man. But we don't think him that he was handsome. In our mind, because of his thoughts, because of his actions, we don't feel good about him. The constant meditation upon Bhu, Bhuva, and Suva leaves such a turn and character to the thought constitution that at the time of the death, when the mind departs, because mind is departing, it's propelled by its own thoughts. So that's why this Rishi is telling us to live in the experience of the presiding deities of these Vahitris. So if we cannot think about Brahm all the time with the help of these Vahitris, because he is giving us a little bigger area to roam in. But whatever the area is, think about the Devatas, the presiding deities. So constancy over here, the constant contemplation. Sure, constantly we cannot do it right now. But gradually we got to bring ourselves to that level where constantly we do it. Because we don't know when we're going to depart. Nobody knows. That's a mystery. The sooner we cultivate this habit of constantly contemplating upon God, the better it is for us. At any given point, mind can think about only one thing. Either we can think about our problems and the worries, or we can think about God. Try to think about God more and more and more. Fulfilling our constant meditation, the ego of the Upasak comes to realize and experience its identity with Hiranyagarbha, the total mind. And of course, I mean, from that, what really happens? Naturally, we will experience the joys of the entire experience. And the fourth part of these two verses is the call to all of us to live a spiritual life, a yogic life. It's like a very passionate appeal this Guru is making it to us. Live a pure life, a chaste life, a meditative life. He says, and then what will happen? You will realize all the possibilities that are now lying dormant in you. Because they're already in there. It's not that God has to come or the Atma has to come from outside. It's already there. It's everywhere. In all of us. So this is what we have to experience. So they are telling us how to do it, why to do it, and how important it is to do it or live a life like this. This is basically he's telling us. So this is a section 6, just these 2 verses. I would really urge that look at it deeply. These are not simple verses. You can see the difference between these verses and Bhagavad Gita verses. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, he just simplified quite a bit for us. But these are written in the Vedic time. But I'm glad that you all have the interest in learning this and getting the benefit from it. So let's stop it here. We'll start with section 7 next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate Om Shanti 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 Om.
Archie, can I ask a question?
Yeah, just 1 second. I'm trying to stop the recording, but somehow it is not here. So anyway, it's okay. You can ask questions. She can always not record that part. Okay, all right, Rita.
Can you explain one more time Hiranyagarbh?
Hiranyagarbh, just remember, it's a total mind and intellect.
Total mind and intellect of the whole universe?
Yes, the whole universe, Hiranyagarbh.
Okay. One more question is, Sanatam Dharam, do you think it belongs to the whole universe?
Of course.
Or not only Hindus?
No, Sanatan Dharam, eternal principle, belongs to everybody, whether we know it or not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's eternal. So it's for all human beings, right? It's not a sect. It's not a ism. Okay, so just remember that. It's like a
usually when we use the word Sanatam Dharam, mostly, at least I understand Hinduism on that. So thank you for clarifying for me.
Yeah, no, Sanatan Dharam, like a Vedas, it's not that our God is different than anybody else's God. God is one, right? The same way Sanatan Dharam is for all of us.
For all of us. Thank you.
Yeah. And Sanatan Dharam, that's where those principles, they really, you see those principles in all the isms also. Non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing. Those are the principles of Sanatan Dharam. Non-hoarding, right? So those are, it's called Dharam ke 10 Lakshan. Every religion, okay?
Thank you for clarifying for
me. Sure. Anybody else? Yeah, I know Jyoti is not there, so we cannot stop recording. So, but you can ask question if you want. Otherwise, I'll ask Rita. You are here today, so if you can sing a bhajan. But if somebody has a question, I think Pramila has a question. Yes, Pramila.
Hersh, the way you explained in the end, you summed it up. But somehow I found a little hard to follow. I do not know about others, but when you summed it up, it clarified a few issues I was having
Okay.
with the flow of the whole thing.
Yeah, I know. I know this Upanishad is little, I would say, difficult to grasp, but stick with it. You will see that there are a lot of other teachings which you have gotten. You have gotten it from this Upanishad. Okay. So today's just remember that we need to think about God more and more.
Yeah. When you summed it up, it made things clearer.
Okay, good.
But when you were going line by line, I couldn't grasp it.
I know. It's because it's not, it just doesn't flow the way other Upanishads which we studied or the way Bhagavad Gita does. Those are little simpler teachings. This is definitely little difficult.
Yeah. In the end, when you give 1, 2, 3, 4, then
That makes sense, right?
yes.
Okay, all right. So just
Thank
remember that at least, and then just stick with it and see what we get out of it. Because there are a lot of words over here. These verses are big too. You can't even memorize these verses, let alone sing these verses. They are difficult, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Just hang in there.
Thank you.
That's what I would say. Yes.
Harshji, namaste.
Yes. Namaste.
What is the definition of the word Vyarthis? Can you explain? Is that the
Yeah,
lokas?
we are. See, it's like a VYA, Vya Riti, HRITI. So this is like a technical terms used for these small words. Bhava, Bhu, Bhuva, and Swa. Vyarti. Okay.
Which encloses the entire lokas, the universe?
Yes. They are the lokas also. That's what he said, that you can either superimpose on the lokas, you can superimpose on the luminaries, you can superimpose on in your body also, in your prana also. So ultimately, it's like a thinking or contemplating upon Brahma with the help of these.
Yeah, I got it.
These matras, they also call them matras.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you
So-
definitely need those if you have gone beyond that? Because beyond that, I mean, is Lord without forms.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody can really meditate on God, Brahma, can see Brahma everywhere, they don't need this.
Okay. So
They're already there. It's almost like if you need to get on the top of the roof, if you are there, you don't need the ladder.
So these are means to reach
Means,
that.
yes, means for. That's why I said these are the means for upasana.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
So
you
means
so
for upasana, and majority of us do need it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately what happens, I mean, if we are already there, we are not shaken by the dualities.
Yeah.
We already feel united with everybody.
Right.
If we are constantly peaceful, if we are compassionate towards everybody, nothing disturbs us.
Right.
We think that we don't own anything. Sure, we are there then.
Yeah, they fall off by themselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
but if somebody says, no, I just don't want Sagun Brahma, I want to do it only on the Nirgun, then sometimes that becomes a source of increasing our own ego.
Yeah, ego thing, correct.
Okay, so if the ego is there, then you are not really a worshipper of a Nirgun Brahma.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
So it's almost like if somebody says, I don't need the ladder, I can jump up there. So the person is neither on the top of the roof nor on the ladder, fallen down with broken bones.
Got it. Yeah.
Got it? So we got to be little practical about it too. And anybody who argues with other people that Nirgun is better than Sagun, that is the biggest fool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
God can, if God is everything, God can be Sagun also, God can be Nirgun also, and God could be in between also. Why put conditions on God?
Right.
God can come as a fish also, God can come as a tree also, God can come I mean, Lord Krishna said, I am everywhere,
Everywhere. That's
everything.
right. Yeah.
So we got to remember that. We got to cultivate the qualities which we are learning in these Upanishads. Focus on those more.
Thank you.
And calling ourselves a Nirgun Upasak or a Sagun Upasak, or a Vishnu Upasak or a Shiva Upasak, or a
Right.
Devi Upasak.
Right.
Cultivate the qualities, because no matter what we are doing, the bottom line comes. Like these days, Navaratris are going on. What is the essence?
Right.
Get rid of the negativity. Only then you will be able to celebrate the Shara. Right?
True. Yeah.
Only then you'll be able to celebrate Diwali.
Yeah.
All these are connected, all these festivals. And the bottom line is we want to get rid of the negativity. So, and negativity, I really, in the bigger term, I really mean by
Completely.
let go of the agyan, the ignorance. Right?
Right.
Because this agyan is the one, this ignorance is the one which is keeping us away from feeling that I am Atma.
Yeah, it
which is
keeps us
nothing.
away from ourselves.
Hmm?
It keeps me away from myself, my
Yeah.
ego. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Patma. Yes, Urmil?
Thank you.
Harji, I can't see myself, but I am on it. So if
I
you
can see you.
I can't see. Okay. I actually understood the chapter very well.
Good,
And
great.
so I'll share a little feel what I have understood with Pimi and whoever was a little bit out for it. These verses are for the meditation.
Right.
It's meditating, we want to visualize something. And since he has started with that Om Bhagavat Maha, he says, Brahma, the bright to all in the heart within. And that abode in the heart is the most important thing where the attributes of love come from. Then he says, think and meditate upon the Brahma that is hangs down between the palates like a nipple, birthplace of Indra, at the crown where the hair is made part. It's like this section, which is the high section. In fire,